Say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Just one request. Is there a way you can tilt your camera down a little bit so we can see your whole face? Alright, better. Thank you. Now, well, like I said, it's a half-hour, 45-minute conversation. Yeah, you can talk about anything you want, curse if you want to. It's basically your time, and let's just have a normal conversation.
Sounds good.
Now, starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
Well, right now I'm a personal training coach at the UFC gym in Huntington Station. I'm also a fighter with Life of a Fighter. Right now I've just been having a program 3.5 months ago. Just got back to training, full training about 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to be trying to get a fight around January. That's the game plan. So.
All right. Now, before we go into details of action, how did you get into that? The next question I was going to ask you, let's jump right into that. I did have a whole bunch of other questions, but we can get to that. You mentioned you were a coach for UFC, and are you actually a fighter, or are you more of a coach fighter?
I actually do both. So I compete myself. I've done grappling matches. I'm going to be doing a kickboxing match next. But I also do coach 2 women right now. They're competing November 24th for the Fight for Charity event. This will be somewhere on Long Island. So it's going really well. They got a bunch of coverage on the news for it. My fighter Lisa Consolo and Jessica Galone are going to be competing. So it's going to be a really good event, good for charity. It's going to be really good for everybody.
Are they both good looking?
What?
Are they both good looking?
Yeah, they're both good looking and they can beat the crap out of you, so.
Alright, now the next question I was going to ask you is, do you think UFC and MMA, it's just for guys or could be for women too?
It's absolutely for both. They have a women's division right now. They have the Ultimate Fighter Season 20 right now where they're doing the strawweight division, so they're going to be bringing a new division in. And in my opinion, the lady fights are actually better than the male fights. They have a lot more action. They go after it a lot more. They don't really give a shit. You know, they want to win, and it really shows. It's a lot more fun to me to watch the women compete. A lot less fights.
That's true. Now, I can't, no disrespect, but I make a joke about the UFC, referring it to as human cockfighting.
Well, that's actually very inaccurate because it's completely sanctioned. It's a legitimate sport. They do drug testing. You know, they have a lot of different rules. You know, human cockfighting could not be further than the truth. So I actually take offense to that. So I'm not mad, but that's something I take offense to. So it's absolutely human cockfighting.
No disrespect. That's how I feel about it. Now, the other question I was going to ask you was, you mentioned, you mentioned you're a fighter. Have you ever gotten a chance to actually win a championship, or what division do you want to be in, or what division are you in right now?
Well, I haven't competed long enough to fight for a championship, so you know that'd be nice to get to that point. Right now I fluctuate between. I usually fight around like 145 pounds. That's usually my weight.
All right. Now you mentioned you're a trainer. Do you train everyone, or like for an example, say I have a learning disability, but I would like you to train me? Would you be willing to train someone who has a learning disability, or is there limits of only certain people can be trained?
No, I train everybody. I've trained everyone from 15-year-old kids to 67-year-old seniors. So it's, you know, everybody has some sort of, you know, let's say, for lack of a better word, disadvantage to something that they can learn. Like, for instance, I have a learning disability. I have a client who had ACL reconstructive surgery on her knee, so we had to really build up the muscles around her knee and her hamstring to really get her to be able to do the exercises that we wanted her to do from the beginning. One of my clients has an ACL tear, rotator cuff tear in her shoulder, so we have to work around that. And it's all about, you know, learning what their limitations are, building up on what they have already, strengthening them up so that they can get to where they want to be. So it's I train everybody.
All right. Well, I just want to go back to the human cockfighting joke. That's how I feel. I didn't mean any disrespect. I know I'm on the outside looking in. I know. I'll give you a perfect example. People say pro wrestling's fake. And it's like, how can you say that? We actually hit the floor, and you actually break an arm, break a rib.
Well, fake in the aspect that all the matches are predetermined. That's where the fakeness comes in. There is a hell of a lot of athleticism that comes with pro wrestling. I have absolutely, tremendous respect for those athletes. They take a beating every night, and they do it on a weekly basis. Where mixed martial artists, boxers, mixed martial arts in general, when they compete, they compete, once, maybe twice, and then they have months off in between to train, to heal up, and to go back at it. Pro wrestling, they're going sometimes like multiple times a week, week in, week out, and they're constantly traveling, so they don't get enough time to rest and really let their bodies heal. That's why you see a lot of them get neck injuries, knee injuries, back injuries, things like that. And that's when they get to take their vacation, is when they get injured. It's kind of like a weird give and take, but it's it's fake, it's predetermined. Like, they know who's going to win before it happens.
Right.
It's far from fake, physically wise. So it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
Well, before we go on to the other cuts and how we got compared the two, I just want to be, man to man. I didn't mean any disrespect to you.
Of course, I'm not. No, I'm just saying, like, when people say that, I just take offense to it because, it's a sport I'm passionate about, and when you understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes and the people running the event and everything, like, it's far from human cockfighting.
All right. I just make sure we're on the same page. I'm not like a dick or anything. Now, wrestling, it's like fake as in it's scripted. Now, with MMA and UFC, how is it the same thing, or is that completely different?
No, I mean, you could go into, back in the day, like Pride FC, certain organizations, like Japanese organizations, like, they would want to, they call them working fights, where they would want one person to win, and they'd say, make it look good. They're going to finish the fight by a knee bar, but just try and make it look good. Like, there have been fighters on record saying that they have actually done that. They threw a fight, but it's far from predetermined. Like, the only predetermined part is the matchmaker. They contact fighter A, contact fighter B, sign the contracts, and then it's up to them to perform, train, get themselves prepared, show up on the weigh-ins, weigh-in, make weight, show up the next day to the event, get in the dressing room, get wrapped, put the gloves on, walk out to the cage, step in, and fight. But all of that, that's up to the fighter.
All right. Now, I recently found out that UFC goes the tribute to the troops, like the WWE or WWF does for tribute to the troops. So have you ever gone or have the privilege to go overseas and perform?
Oh, no. I haven't, no. Again, I haven't been competing very long in general, and I'm not even a professional, so I wouldn't, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do anything like that.
All right. Now, for people who want to know, what is your lifestyle? How many hours a day do you train? Do you take vitamins?
Well, it depends on the day. Like, right now, I'm not in a training camp. Like I said, I just came off of rehabbing a broken rib, so I'm just training in general. When I'm in a fight camp, I usually take about 8 weeks out of my life to make sure that I'm eating healthily. I'm training at least 4 to 6 times a week. I want to get, hopefully, if I can, two times a week to rest, to let my body recover. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes I'm training twice a day. I do my strength and conditioning at shout out to the Acceleration Gym in Deer Park. They've really gotten me physically where I want to be since I've been with them since I broke my ribs. So they've really helped me rehab and get my muscle back up. And I do my training with Mike Collier from Life of a Fighter, and sometimes we travel to different other gyms. Like, he trains at Long Island MMA. They got a bunch of great guys down there. The NYFE featherweight champ Rob Scott, he's over there. They got Ryan LaFleur, Dennis Bermuda. They got a whole bunch of great talent at that gym. So hopefully we'll be able to work with those guys in the future. And it's all about pretty much the hardest part, in my opinion, about fighting is the cutting weight aspect, which is never fun for anybody. You know, you have to really stick to a strict nutritional game plan. You have to wake up at certain times to eat. Like, you have certain times of the day you need to eat. You need to snack. You need to make sure you're not eating bad. If you veer off one day, you have to get at it like harder the next day. It's really tough, especially when you've never done it before. Like jumping right in, it sucks. And sometimes you get injured during camp. That's why I had to take an ice bath before my last fight because I injured my rib like 6 days before the fight. This is before I broke my rib. And I don't know if you've ever been in cold water, but being in a bath of cold water with 2 bags of ice in it for 4 minutes is not fun. So preparation for fighting in general can be grueling, but at the same time it's very rewarding. You get a sense of pride in yourself for sticking it out for 8 weeks to train for this 1 6-minute match. You're in there, it goes by so quickly. Next thing you know, you're back home. Like, I can't believe I just stepped into a cage with another person. And it goes by really quickly, but it's a really rewarding process. I really enjoy it.
All right, now we're going to take a commercial break for our sponsors. And when we come back, I have a couple more questions for you.
All right.
Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? That's okay. Now introducing on behalf of Nutralites.com, try the SX. Sugar-free. Gives you the boost when you need it. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? Just take some of these energy bars and it will give you the energy that you need. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? Try the Double X. They give you the strength to be Superman. Where can I get these great items? Go to Nutralites.com and it's just a click away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Uncensored Episode 90. I'm your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is Kyle Conder. And if I'm busting in your last name, I apologize.
That's alright.
And now we left off, we were talking about UFC and your regiments. Now, for people who want to know, what's the difference between eating meat and being vegan? I give you a perfect example. CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are vegans and they're constantly hurt. Do you think that for people who, like you, or fighters, do you need to be having meat in your system, or it depends on how much you're training and everything?
Well, not necessarily. It depends on how you approach the diet. Like, if you're just trying to not eat meat at all, like, you can deprive your system of the essential nutrients and minerals that you need. But if you look at a professional fighter like Mac Danzig in the UFC, he's 100% vegan, but he's always in incredible shape. He's always got stamina for days. He's a great athlete. It depends. You have to have a really good nutritionist, especially if you are a vegan, because you need to know exactly the types of foods you can eat that have the proteins, that have the nutrients that you need that the meat usually has. So you have to be eating the right things in the right combinations. So unfortunately, I'm not as much of a nutritionist that I can provide like step by step what you need to do. But if you approach it at the right way, you can do whatever diet you want. There are professional fighters that only eat meat. Like, if you look at Brock Lesnar, he was in the UFC for 5 minutes. He got diverticulitis, which is an intestinal disorder where they had to remove his colon. And basically, it's like his stomach is eating itself from the inside. And that can be a cause of eating nothing but red meat for, all day, every day. And so, it's if you say, like, do you only need meat? Do you only not need meat? There's got to be a mix. That's why human beings, naturally, instinctively have always been omnivores. They eat plants and they eat meat. So, if you're, it depends. If it's a lifestyle choice, that's fine. But, like, if you have the access and the means to eat meat and fish and plants and everything, like, you should. It is definitely good. But, you can always find the means to eat the essential nutrients and minerals and things that you would need otherwise that the meat would normally have in it through vegan meats too. So it's if you approach it the right way, you have nutritionists that understand the vegan diet and like what they need, then absolutely you can do pretty much everything.
All right. Now I came up with an idea. I talked about joking around, but now I'm actually serious about the idea. How would you feel about if they MMA, UFC worked with New Japan Pro Wrestling in Mexico? You know how in Dragon, what I mean by that, when getting to the point is, you know how in Dragon Ball Z, they had the World Martial Arts Competition.
Okay.
And for people who don't know what the World Martial Arts Competition is, fighters all over the world, from United States, Canada, Japan, Germany, they all compete in the top 16, compete, and the winner will be known as the World Heavyweight Champion, also known as the World's Strongest Fighter.
Okay.
Now, do you think, and how this is directed at you, if MMA and UFC did that, do you think people would have a different outlook about it?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, they're doing it already. Fighters from all over the world can compete in not only the UFC but mixed martial arts in general. If you look at promotions like UFC, like Bellator, like World Series of Fighting, Titan FC, Legacy, like they all have fighters from Canada, from Germany, from especially Russia now. Like you see Russian fighters, especially from Dagestani fighters, a lot of them are coming up now. Fighters from Ukraine, Sweden, all over the world. Australia now. America, Brazil, and Canada are the three countries that people normally associate with mixed martial arts when they think of the champions like George St. Pierre, Jose Aldo, Renan Barão, TJ Dillashaw, Chris Weidman, all these guys live in those three countries. So, I mean, they're already doing it. Like mixed martial arts in general, has just probably the most diverse group of athletes any organization or any sports organization has. So. They might not have that whole tournament format like Dragon Ball Z you were saying has, but in the grand scheme of things, they're already doing it. They're already competing. They have athletes from Japan, China, all these places. They might not be the best of the best from some countries aren't as developed or as far along in their MMA training that America, Brazil, Canada, Sweden, all these countries have. The Netherlands, Holland, all those places have. But they still have fighters competing, so they are competing with each other from other people from other countries. So they're already doing that. So it's a nice thing to watch.
All right. Well, if they actually follow, I know it's copyright and everything, but if they actually bought the rights to the World Martial Arts, I would love to go see that. It would be freaking amazing.
Yeah, that would sound like fun.
Now, the other question I was going to ask you is. Let's see, what was it? And I apologize if I hesitate. I haven't done my interviews as of late. So when I don't do it as of late, I kind of feel up a hesitation to it. But, learning disability, trying to get over it. This is what I was going to ask you. When people refer to UFC and MMA, they always think of a cage. Now, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? And if they turn during the cage or the octagon into like Japan has a giant circle for a ring, or TNA has like the TNA ring. Do you think if they had a bigger ring or a normal wrestle in the ring, it would be different and people would get behind it? But when they see cage fighting, they're kind of like, oh, well, what is this?
Well, I think if you asked that question 10 years ago, you would have gotten an entirely different response. People don't associate cage fighting with, like what you were saying, human cock. Like when you said human cockfighting, that was the first time I've heard it since 2009. People just don't really refer to it that much anymore. So cage fighting in general isn't as much of a negative connotation as it was probably 10 years ago. And to answer your other question, Pride FC had a wrestling ring when they had their fighters compete. And it does change the game a whole lot more. Like you see fighters today in Bellator, World Series of Fighting, UFC, they use the cage to their advantage now. Where back in the old days, in like 1992, 1993, when the first UFC was going on, if you were down on the ground by the cage, it was pretty much a death sentence. Like they didn't know how to get up. They didn't know how to use their back to shimmy up and roll on. So like they'd get trapped against the cage, they get pounded out, they'd lose the fight. So nowadays, people use that cage to their advantage. Back in Pride, you had the ropes. So they did have that rule, like in wrestling, where if you grab the rope, like you'd have to let the submission go. But they, if you were on the ground getting punched, you couldn't really use those ropes to get up. So they have different, different things for different for areas. So I'm not sure if it's ONE FC or not, but they have like a circular cage. I know Bellator has, I believe it's a hexagon, not an octagon like the UFC has. World Series of Fighting might have a circle as well. So, different organizations have different niches that they like to incorporate to make themselves different from other places. But it's not as a detriment or a negative view for cage fighting as it was. So I don't really think that a ring or a cage necessarily would make people want to see it more. I think if they wanted to see it, they'd see it no matter what they were fighting in. So I don't really think that matters.
All right, and just two more questions on the subject, and we can go something else. The first one is, do you think MMA and UFC, and I know you said you train everyone from a young age to very old, and age doesn't really matter as a number. Do you think, how does this affect the kid market? Is it for kids, or is it also catered to adults, or is it in the middle?
Yeah, we have kids programs at the UFC gym. I've trained kids before. I used to train at Ray Longo's mixed martial arts school before, Chris Weidman, Power MMA, before they merged. And I used to train the kids program like 2 days a week, so I have experience with that as well. You see a lot more kids training mixed martial arts now, which is great in my opinion, because they get all the training they need. One of the biggest regrets from high school is that I never wrestled. I was one of those stupid kids. I was like, oh, it's gay, they wear spandex. I thought, I wish that I had not, thought that way, because, I love jiu-jitsu now, and I'd be so much better at it if I had a wrestling background to start, and I didn't. So, that's one of the things that I regret fully, but it's really good to start from, it teaches discipline, which a lot of kids nowadays don't have at all. They're a bunch of shitheads. But it's really good to learn discipline, to learn, you respect your elders, you learn to be more respectful in general towards people. You're a nicer person in general, because working out like that releases crazy endorphins, and you're just happy all the time. And you don't need to be a dick and bully people around and prove you're a tough guy, because you know what you can do. So you see people acting like an asshole, and you're like, whatever, I'm cool. Like it's really good for kids, in my opinion, to learn. I think it should be mandatory in schools to learn martial arts, some sort of fashion. But I think in Asia they do that. I believe that's like part of their curriculum.
No, I agree with you, and it's good for kids to know self-defense. And if you're all up for it, I would like to learn self-defense from you.
Sure, absolutely.
Now, the other question I was going to ask you is, and I don't mean to piss you off with this, but I get a lot of wrestling get it. I don't know if it's the same, but when you get punched and kicked, are you actually, being fucking hitting the person in the face, or is it?
When I spar?
Well, I just mean like when you punch and you kick. Do you really actually punch the fucker in the face, or is it just how far is it real to it being fake?
Oh, it's the farthest thing from fake. But, the intensity of which I hit depends on the situation. So, like, if I'm sparring for a fight, I'm going to be hitting close to 100%. If I'm sparring one of my female athletes, like Lisa or Jessica, who are competing soon, like, where I'm starting to hit a little bit harder now because we're getting closer to the fight, but, I'll be throwing it like 50, 60%. I'm not going to be throwing that hard because I don't want to discourage the fighter from getting too scared from engaging. So I want them to still get hit, but not feel scared to be able to come in and implement their game plan. So, but if I'm training for a fight myself, like, hit me as hard as you can. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can. Do it.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
It is fun.
Now, the other question I was going to ask you, Kurt Angle talked about this a while ago. I don't know if you heard of it. He said something about in 2020, pro wrestling will be out of the Olympics. Do you support professional wrestling being in the Olympics still? And do you think eventually MMA, UFC will become a Olympic game?
Well, wrestling will never be in the Olympics because, for the simple fact, it's not a sport. It's sports entertainment. So that's a big difference. Pro wrestling is not a sport. No matter how you cut it down, it's not. So it's a legitimate sport. It will not. I would love to see fighters different and if we come down to Brazil, US, or Canada, like in the mid to late brackets, I would love to see mixed martial arts, or even jiu-jitsu. Judo's in there. I would love to see Brazilian jiu-jitsu at the Olympics. I would love to see any more combat sports, not like boxing. Like I would see kickboxing, Muay Thai. It's just a whole bunch of slews, and then we can get along in the middle and get mixed martial arts. I think it would be amazing to see that in the Olympics. It would be so good.
All right. The next question I was going to have, like I said, you can ask me anything you want. I don't want people to think it's one-sided. So you have any questions you want to ask me?
Yeah. Have you ever trained before yourself?
When I was in high school, I was lifting weights and everything, but since then I haven't. But hey, if you're up for it, I'm always looking for a coach.
You never did martial arts at all?
I'm a fan of it. Yeah, I guess the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had a big influence on it, but I never was given the opportunity to do it. So I really don't know where I stand on it, but I'm always up to trying new things.
Sounds good, man. Well, yeah, if you ever want to, you can set something up. That's not a big deal for me.
All right. The next question I was going to ask you is, where do you stand on legalizing marijuana?
Oh, all for it. Love it. Love it. With a lot of fighters, you'll see that they either smoke or they don't. Like, you don't see a lot of fighters that are like midway on the issue. One of the things I've come to learn.
I'm for it too. It's look at it like this: drinking causes liver damage, smoking causes cancer. What does smoking weed do? It improves your memory. It enhances your body. And it's good for you. I know, okay, I'm not saying you should go out and smoke every single day. I'm not saying if you're responsible, it's fine. But I prefer someone smoking a bag of weed than smoking cigarettes, because cigarettes kills you. So does drinking. And what it comes down to is, people, what's the taxing and everything. It's all about making money.
If they legalize it, like look at Colorado, look how much money they made, like in the first few weeks of them actually legalized. They made hundreds of millions of dollars. Like they could literally clean up the deficit so quickly if they just legalized it like nationwide. It'd be so fast. But I don't know. Apparently they can stand to make more money with it being illegal.
That's true. Now the next question I was going to ask you is this big thing in the news. How do you feel about African Americans coming from Africa? And it does not sound like a racist, I'm not. But if you're sick and you have the disease, the Ebola disease, do you think those people should just stay in their own countries till they're better? Or where do you stand on it? Because recently in the news, there's a case of it being in New York City, and that's It's a couple years ago, you would think this would have never happened, but now it's happened. So where do you stand on it?
Yeah, I don't know enough about the issue to give like an informed opinion on it, so I'm actually just not gonna go for that. Stay away from that question.
All right, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I don't want to. I would come across like sounding like I know nothing, and I'm just gonna admit that and move on.
All right, well, where do you stand on gun rights and gun control?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of guns, but it's in the Constitution that you should be able to have them, so you should be responsible if you have them. But I don't really have an issue with it.
No, I agree with you. I support the Second Amendment, the rights to bear arms, and I said in my past interviews, you have the right to kill only in self-defense. If your wife is in danger, or if your loved ones are in danger, or if you're back into a corner and it's a life or death situation, you have the right to protect yourself.
Right.
I give you a perfect example. I bet if someone broke into your house, you killed a person. Or if someone broke into my house and your wife was in danger, you do whatever you have to.
Well, yeah, of course.
But saying just like for hunting and for just stupid reasons, like recently there was a shooting, and it's like you have to have certain boundaries. Like you teach your kids right for wrongs. You only use guns in self-defense. It was the hunting. You think, give little Johnny this little bow and arrow or this plastic gun. It's just a toy to him. But by giving him or her the gun as a kid, you're giving him the influence saying it's okay. And now how that's turned into a question is, do you think you should teach your kids at a young age the rights and wrongs, or do you think they would eventually find out on their own?
No, I think you should teach your kids. That's being an irresponsible parent if you're not going to teach your kids bad things. They should know from an early age most things. Whether they understand, you have to be able to, explain it in a way that they understand. But I think that they should know.
All right. And one more thing on the subject. People who are who are former convicts, and most importantly, people who are just fucked up, who are mentally disturbed or ticking time bombs. These people, if you want to turn the question around on me, people who have learning disabilities or just mentally disturbed, these people should be on a list saying, yes, I know it's your right to have the Second Amendment, but at the same time, you're having mental problems, and it's like adding gas to the fire. So it's why say, okay, let's give you a gun and see what happens, but for a fact what's going to happen. It's kind of like, why do something stupid when you know the results, right? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, if you have a mental health condition, you clearly aren't fit to carry a pistol or any sort of gun. So, they should have some sort of a psychological evaluation if you want to own a gun. So I'm not sure if they have that, but it's probably something that they should do, like an interview or some sort of evaluation.
All right. Now the next question, it's getting off the hard subjects, going back to the easy ones, is who influenced you to become a fighter, and if you could choose anyone from the past or present or future, who would you want to fight?
All right. Well, this actually is a pretty good question to finish on. This is all I have time for left. What influenced me to be a fighter? To be honest, I really couldn't answer that question. I've been involved in martial arts ever since I was about 6 years old. I did Tiger Showman's karate back before it was martial arts. I was a black belt when I was 8 years old. From there, I studied Makoto Kai Jiu-Jitsu from about 14 to 16 years old. And then from there, I actually took a hiatus from martial arts for a number of years due to college and partying, and I could have definitely use that time more wisely, but I had fun. And then from 21 until now, in 26, I've been studying Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just started wrestling about a year ago. And I've been really focusing more on my kickboxing because I was always really good at karate with my kicks and everything, so I wanted to keep that going. And just when I first started training, when I was 21, when I started back up, I can't describe it, but I just had an urge to just get in the ring and fight. I wasn't troubled. I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't bullied. I was always competitive. I was always a part of the team sports, baseball, soccer for a number of years. And I always had that competitive drive. But I always, at the same time, knew that I wanted to do something myself, to prove to myself that I could do something. So I guess that's what the fighting aspect, appealed to me, because I still have coaches, I still have a team behind me, but at the end of the day, it's just me ring with somebody else. And if there was someone I could fight at all, I'm not the type of person to hold grudges or something, so I guess I'll say Hitler, because Hitler, so beat the shit out of Hitler.
All right, well, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners, or do you have any funny stories you'd like to share?
Well, no funny stories, but anybody who wants to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, my handle is @SplitDecisionKC, and you can see a bunch of videos and transformation photos of my clients. Again, I teach anybody from 15 to 67 years old, just from right now. Everybody I work with loses weight, loses body fat, shrinks down in sizes. If you want to change your life, you can message me up on Facebook. It's Kyle Collier, Twitter or Instagram. And you yourself, Keith, if you want to learn, if you want to get some lessons in, you can just message me and we'll get something going. And my nickname is the Honey Badger, mostly because I never stop. I'm very aggressive, but I'm very methodical. And my clients, they have their Body by Badger Fitness, and they have their Honey Badger tank top. So if you want to really get going and change your life and become the Honey Badger and embrace the Badger, check me out.